This is our first Unplugged event that we're hosting for the fall. In fact, it's a rename from the Dean Speaker event that we've hosted for years. So I'm kind of excited to see the turnout, whether you're here because you're told to or because you wanted to be here. The panel we have today came from a discussion we had with some students about where you're going to be when you graduate. And most of you want to work for a technology company. And normally you mention the Metas, the Amazons, the Googles. And I think we kind of do a disservice to all the other companies out there that are, in essence, a technology company. My favorite story I like to tell is about Discount Tire. Anybody know who Discount Tire is? Yeah, they have 400 tech people working for them. Not a company you would picture as a technology company. They're doing stuff in AI, they're doing stuff in embedded systems, they're doing stuff in robotics. So if they're doing it, my guess there's a bunch of other companies that are doing it. So don't close your mind to all these other options. So you're going to be hearing from our panel today talking about those kind of things. And with that, we'll just go ahead and have them introduce themselves to tell us maybe name, company, role, and how you got into the role. We'll start with that, and then we'll kind of carry on the conversation. We'll open it up to discussion from the audience in a little bit, but let's just go ahead and go walk through the panel.
So my name is Brandon Martinez. I work for Republic Services, and I am an IT admin. Oh, how I got into technology. When I was younger, I was into scale houses, and I used to work in a scale house and decided that I could make a better system than those that had it before. And 4 years later, I'm working with a company that doesn't know.
All right, still on. Okay, my name is Paul Elliott. I work at Republic Services. I discovered Brandon at one of the student events here. As he mentioned, we do scale houses and a variety of other things. We are a recycling and waste company. You see our containers all around campus. We are all over the place. We've done a lot of partnerships with GCU on environmental sustainability. In fact, your director of sustainability came and spoke at our executive conference last February. She did an amazing job. So it's a good partnership here with GCU, and I'm very happy to be here to tell you more about Republic Services and what we do. My story on how I got into tech is kind of long. I started off at working at a call center out of high school. This was in 1995. And it was for a local company here, hotel company, Choice Hotels, if anyone knows them or has talked from anyone there. So they had a call center here back in the day, in the mid-90s. And over on their service desk, they were transitioning their technology from DOS to Windows. This is how long ago it was. And so they had their talent base was full of people that knew DOS, didn't know Windows, were really uncomfortable with Windows, the whole idea of command line versus a GUI. I grew up on Windows. It was very native to me. I knew what to do. And so they said, we need people like you because you know the system we're going to versus the system we're on. That's how I got started in IT. And 27 years later, I'm still here and have evolved from that service desk, help desk into application development, architecture, data, all that stuff. So that's my story.
Testing? Okay. How you guys doing? My name is Nhyre Quinerly. I am the founder and CEO of Centavi. We are a software company. We are developing a platform for investors and brokers to buy and sell apartment complexes. So in small words, how many of you guys ever heard of Zillow? So we're creating a platform for people that just buy and sell apartment complexes like a Zillow. So that kind of helped you guys get an understanding. My background is actually in real estate. My partner right there is actually one of my developers. Raise your hand, Ray John. Hey, Mr. Ray John right there. What made me get into the technology side? I started my first company at 22 years old down in New York. I'm actually from the East Coast, as probably some of you guys can hear it in my voice. And I created a company for investors. So we basically find properties for investors and charge them a fee disbursement. And what I seen was kind of like the same question from a lot of my investors, where there wasn't a platform available for them strictly. You know, a lot of the platforms that was out there was commercial based, you know, very broad sense. You know, so we wanted to make something strictly for the multifamily side. So that's what we're creating today. And really, you know, one of the things I wanted to do, and I talked to Mr. Robert, was come out here and introduce you guys that we are a startup company. and give you guys the opportunity for internship to be able to come on and actually see what it looks like from the ground up from a company standpoint. You know, I know a lot of you guys know Amazon, but a lot of you guys probably don't know Amazon was started in the garage. So giving you guys that opportunity to see really what a company from the bottom up looks like is something that we want to offer you guys.
How's it going? I'm Austin Driver. I'm a software development engineer at Hawaiian Airlines. Got into technology, you know, grew up working landscaping, didn't really like being outdoors all the time. You know, so my dad was in IT, my uncle was in IT, so, you know, kind of, you know, took the shot, came down here to GCU, graduated, did the internship with Hawaiian Airlines, and got that full-time offer afterwards.
Hello, my name is Bryce Johnson. I'm with the Judge Group. My title is a senior manager of recruiting. We do a lot of different professional services with organizations all across the United States and globally. I work, again, with our recruiting team here in the Valley, supporting some of our local customers, as well as all across the Western U.S. for different companies that we support. How I got into tech, there was an opportunity as a job for a junior recruiter at a different agency that is here in the Valley, and a buddy of mine worked in finance for them, and he said, you know, hey Bryce, you should try, you know, apply for that recruiter job, because I had just moved back to the Valley. I went to college out in St. Louis, and I'd moved back. I said, I don't know what IT really is, and he goes, you talk a lot, you'll be fine. So I applied, and 2 interviews and a week and a half later, I got into the industry. It's been nice to again continue to learn and grow in it, because again, you know, like some of the other stories here, you know, you maybe don't know a whole lot about it, but once you dive in feet first, you can really learn a lot and grow. I had no clue it was, oh, my computer's on. That's IT, right? That was the extent of my knowledge 10 years ago. So yeah, that's a little bit more there.
Okay, so you can keep the mics. We're going to bring it back this way with the answers this time. So the next time around, tell us about maybe if you're in technology, what are you doing in technology that surprises you because it's not technology? Maybe you're working with another department. Maybe you're working with the finance team. Maybe you're working with the operations team. So tell us that. If you aren't in technology, tell us how you engage with technology, whether it's building an application for the apartment complex selling, or from Bryce, how do you get people into technology across company? You said you work with a bunch of companies. I'm guessing they're all not your traditional tech. So maybe if you can mention some companies or tell them the kind of roles that they're looking for that aren't traditional technology roles.
Yeah, absolutely. I think again, if I'm looking internally with our company, one of the technology roles that are, again, true IT is we're huge into data and analytics, right? With what we're doing, what we're spending our time on, and the opportunities that we have ultimately to make money, because that's what every business is, even though, you know, that we'll talk about, oh, you know, cutting edge tech, all these cool things you hear. You know, I hear clients of ours all the time ask or tell me all these fun things they like to do in order to attract job seekers. But at the end of the day, it's a business, right? And so in data and analytics that we use a lot of, and knowing how to write algorithms to either bring in data, manipulate the data, and make business decisions out of it. I think one of the examples I know that I've talked about in the past is there's a company that we've worked with that works in mining, right? When you think of mining, I think of a guy in a cart with a hard hat and a light bulb on his hat and a pickaxe. Obviously, it's 2023. We're a long way from that, right? So there's companies like that where, again, we're talking specifically data and analytics, where you can get data from equipment, or in our instances, we have analytics that we use from our team in, you know, different resumes that we pull, different candidate skill sets, things like that. And we look at various markets across the United States, and we see what talent is in those markets, and we advise clients based off of those skill sets of, hey, you know what, you're building a new operation for a data center, right? What city do you need to put that data center in based off of the talent, the cost of living, and various changes in the environment that are going to create a best opportunity for you to succeed? And again, we're just a company that talks to people about their technology. And those are the ways that we're using different pieces of, again, the latest and greatest in order to create business opportunities of success for other organizations. So it's a little bit into that.
Nothing wrong with that. That's the right answer.
Yeah. So at Hawaiian Airlines, I'm part of the flight ODS team. flight operational data source or store team. So I work pretty close with the movement control team. I develop APIs that grab data that they store in a database and make it available to our web and mobile and kiosk team, because everybody cares when their flight leaves, where it's going. So I deal with all of that data, develop those APIs to make it, more organized, easier for those teams to use.
Well, for us, the biggest thing in real estate is that it's evolving. If you ever meet any older investors, a lot of time when they used to find their data, they go into the knock on the county door and ask, when did this last transaction happen, or how many people are in this apartment complex. So the different technologies that are coming out that are helping these investors make smarter decisions is what we want to create. We want to give people a platform where they can do all their due diligence in one space. It's very hard when it comes to the investing, and hopefully, eventually you guys get into investing, because you can get a good job. You need to do something with your money, So, that's basically what we're doing. We need to create a system that helps people gather that data and put it in one place. So when you're looking at these different complexes to purchase, you're making smart decisions.
All right. Everyone so far has talked about data, so I'll talk about something different on this one, and I'm going to let Brandon expand on it a little bit because he's experiencing it right now. Majority of companies exist to do what? To make money, right? We have investors. If you're a publicly traded company, you have investors that invest in you. You probably have investors as well. They expect a return on that. And so there's pressure to make money. You need to serve customers. You need to serve your internal users and the job function and the role that they do. And so the way we do that, and a lot of companies are doing this now, and I believe it's part of your curriculum now. You guys learned about the Agile methodology? You guys loosely know what it is? So we fully embrace that at Republic. We have 42 different Agile software development teams at Republic. And what they are tasked with is they are paired up with whatever functional business partner they support. So my teams, for instance, support our either customer-facing or customer-supporting applications. And so that's the website, that's the customer portals, that's e-commerce, that is a customer notification system, that's the call center, that's the sales organization, and it's also the finance organization, because there's a billing and invoice component of what we send to the customers. And so each one of those functional areas that I just mentioned has someone that's dedicated, a product owner, that works with that team on getting, tell us what your pain points are. What's your highest priority? What is something that we could do that would increase the value for the business function that you support? And so that's an example where you might not think of people that are on the business side that have now been pulled into technology to create some sort of advantage, efficiency, whatever it might be. Brandon, one of the things that we brought him on board for is we have a really exciting new project. We're all very excited and proud of it. But so you think about garbage may not seem like it's a real sexy industry. So what we're trying to figure out right now is there's such an environmental cost to what we do with our trash and with our recyclables, right? And so the less we can put into a landfill, the better. The more that we can create circular materials, the better. And so we found a way recently where we can take these plastic bottles and put it through a manufacturing process, and we're able to reuse that material and sell it to the manufacturers of that. And that's the project that Brandon is supporting. So I'm going to let him talk more about that.
All right. Well, perfectly said, Paul. To build off of that, so I am on the IT team. I work with other IT members as well as people in the finance or other departments that are involved in the application. So not only do we have our own requirements for the workers in our team, we also have requirements from other members, especially the finance, because we deal with internal audits, and we need to protect ourselves from, preventing people from having the wrong access or things like that.
Yeah, actually, I will take that. We're going to open up the questions in just a moment, but I want to go send it back one more time through here. So a lot of big programs here at GCU are around cybersecurity, IT and cybersecurity, the networking components with it. So no matter what role you are at a company, cybersecurity, the privacy data, all that stuff has to play an important part. So whether you're in it or not, how do you think about it from that perspective, the cyber perspective?
Well, if I remember correctly, most of companies that get hacked are from within the company. So, of course, we need to prevent our users from having access they're not supposed to or being in places they're not allowed and such.
Yeah, I just a couple stories around cybersecurity. So it is no matter if you're in IT, it's going to be part of your life. Just get used to it. Used to be one of those things where, again, being in IT for 27 years, we didn't necessarily have a chief information security officer or a cybersecurity team. It was just one of those things where you think back to some of the early days of web development, we would have the OWASP top 10, if any of you have seen that. So what are the security vulnerabilities that are most exploited on websites? So SQL injections and all that stuff. Now, this interview I just did with Gardner earlier this week is we really take a 360 approach to how we do cybersecurity within our companies right now. So one, there's always ongoing training and education. We make it part of the onboarding plan, make sure you understand these things, your role as someone in IT, what are the security things that you need to be aware of? And then again, we do things like phishing emails and tests like that to say, hey, can you spot a phishing email? Anyone familiar with the MGM hotels hack that just happened in Vegas a couple weeks ago? You know what the root cause of that was? Someone called the help desk and impersonated an employee and got the credentials. Easy as that. So it can just take one breach like that and it's shut down. I mean, it's costing them millions of dollars a day, maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars a day. But back to, with us, we have that cybersecurity team, and I mentioned the 360 part of it. So not only that ongoing training and education, but we bake it into our software development processes as well. So we have continuous integration, continuous deployment pipelines. We're building our software multiple times a day. We have security tools that we've baked into that process now. So it can tell you, hey, this isn't following the best practice for a method, or there's a potential, problem with this right here. It'll stop the build right there. It'll fail the build. It'll flag it. That developer's got to go and do something. So that's an example of an automated control that we put in for cybersecurity. The other part we do too, this is the trust but verify, or the belt and suspenders type of approach. So in software development, we follow the PR squared. So that is the peer review and the pull request. So when you're committing code to the branch that we're working on right there, in order for it to get committed, you need to have at least 2 peers review it. And so, it's maybe not as good as the automation, but it's a different way of looking at the data. And if both of those people have signed off on the commit, then we'll pull it into that's the pull request part, bringing it into the branch. So that's an example of what we do there. The other part of it too is, okay, we've already gone through the training and education. We've talked about how we put it into our build process and our deployment process. Well, now it's out in production. So what do we do now? Well, we have ongoing penetration tests that are always happening. So we have bots, agents, whatever it is that are going in there and just trying to exploit it. Now we are in control of those. But that's another example of, hey, we just found a vulnerability there. We need to stop. Is this a zero criticality? It's got to be fixed immediately. Is it one of those things that's going to be addressed in an upcoming library or framework patch? There's a variety of ways that you can go about it. And I always steal this quote from our CISO. He says, the companies, the developers, the teams, we have to be right every single time. Hackers only got to be right once. And so we always are doing whatever we can to stay ahead of it. The other thing too, being a publicly traded company, we're a Fortune 300 company, and our board of directors has someone, and this is their only responsibility. Because of the risk of reputation and damage that can do to your brand and the value of your company, we take it that seriously. So hopefully that gives an idea of just the 360 approach that we take to cybersecurity with what we do.
That was great. I know on our side, our biggest situation that comes up is in the side of apartment complex. It's very discreet. So we have to find ways to keep our owners' information discreet and not available so much to the public, because that's how they operate. For some reason, that's the industry in the commercial side. You can go look up somebody's individual home and find out that owner, but that apartment complex down the street, you're not just going to be able to find that information that easily. So our job on our side, when it comes to security, is really keeping their information very secret unless you have a subscription and are allowed to see their information. So that's just some part of our security side of things.
Yeah, so I'm really glad that we talked about CI/CD pipelines and baking the security aspect into developers. I think that's really where it starts. And we at Hawaiian we take a lot of security precautions with our developers. We have multiple environments that our code lives in, multiple thresholds that you have to authenticate yourself with to be able to get access to whatever data you need. And I think that that's just super important thing that every company should have, bake that into the developers, make it even, a little bit of a hassle for the developers themselves to get access to the data, because that proves that, your security is good. It's taking the people that's actually working on it a little bit of time to get access to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest trends we've seen recently within that space is related to segmentation and access management, right? A lot of the clients that we support, a lot of companies that we work with, and what we do internally ourselves are related to, to the point, the end user at the end of the day is the biggest vulnerability for any company, right? Even the five of us sitting here, right? Or any of you that are, here students on campus at GCU are a security risk, right? So access management and segmentation is the biggest thing. Can people gain one person's access? What are they able to get to? Where are they able to go with it? What are the different hops across a pond? And how can we keep them in specific swim lanes as users in order to limit the amount of data and limit the damage, right? I mean, again, you hear the story of, that you mentioned around calling into the help desk, right? Has anybody listened to a lot of podcasts? Couple hands, right? Anybody listen to Darknet Diaries? Just one in the back. Okay. If you don't, do it. You're driving to campus or whatever, throw an earphone in, listen to it. It's great. Because again, it'll kind of open my mind into a lot of the different ways that are seemingly simple that people can get access to literally everything that you have, right? But again, segmentation, access management, I think again is the biggest area of focus that we see from, Fortune 300 companies like Republic all the way to smaller companies that we work with on a daily basis.
So I'm going to give a plug to College of Business. Anybody part of the project management club over there? There's a DASM training coming up in a couple of weekends. I believe, you know the exact dates? It's like the 5th and 6th of October that weekend. 7th and 8th. Project management, every single one of you that goes into technology is going to be working on a project. If you can go in with a DASM certification, you are going to be 3 steps ahead of anybody who goes in without. So that when they asked about Agile, I think only like a handful of you even knew what it was. You need to go figure it out. You need to figure it out. So if you can talk as we go back, and while they're answering this, raise your hand if you have questions. I'll try to get around to you. Answer, how important is project management for each of you, and what role do you play on a project management team?
So 2 sides to that for me personally. My team that I manage, again, every different job that we look to fill for a client is its own project, and we manage the life cycle of that from identifying the people to identifying the opening itself. So in that sense, a lot of project management, but speaking more just to it in general, again, with you guys and how you're going to apply it, after you graduate and are looking for opportunities, literally every 100% job description, whether it's for developers, whether it's for cybersecurity professionals, every single one in our database, and I pull up my laptop next time I come in, I'll show you, has at least 2 to 3 elements of project management in the job title. Every single one, right? And again, whether it's here in Arizona, globally, across the US, everything, it will be involved. So I love that you kind of plugged that for that project management group, because if you don't understand the concepts of, okay, great, you understand the technology, you know how to make certain things do what they can do, but the why, right? That's what ties it back to the business sense. Again, we talk about, again, whether, it's an example of a mining company, right? That we work with a lot. The business and the bottom line and the dollars at the end of the day is what's most important. And if you can't manage projects to completion to positively affect that bottom line and that dollar amount, the project's not going to exist anymore. And then you're not going to be needed for the tech. And then it's going to go to something else, right? So very, very important on a daily basis there.
Yeah. So first off, I think one of the most useful classes I took here at GC was the project management class. learning Agile. I was able to take that, kind of plug right into how Hawaiian actually does all of their project management. So being in a middle layer team, we get, our web team could say, hey, we want data for this flight on this day. We want this piece of the payload that you're going to send us. Well, we can't just go in and, change our code, because that could break what the mobile team is expecting or what the kiosk team is expecting. So we have an analyst on our team, and she gets the requirements from the business, kind of finds a developer that understands that piece of the code the best, and then assigns it out to them. And it just kind of keeps the wheel going, keeps everybody in order. People are able to come with us with requests on what they need, and then we're able to split it up amongst our team in just an agile platform, which makes everything a lot smoother for every team.
Well, I know for us, I'm not a tech guy. I'm more of the real estate, the business side of things. My partner right here is the developer. So one of the biggest things for us is that I have to take that role on. I understand what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And I understand what he's great at. So that's one of the things we talk about projects in this scenario. My job is to go out there and get brokerages to be on our platform, get other data services that offer even more exclusive data than we can find, and really creating a space where they can work fully, while I handle primarily the real estate and the partnership side of things.
Yeah, so going back to what I mentioned earlier about, capitalism and companies exist to make money, or if you're a government, you have services. And so you have to go through an evaluation process. And that is, if I do these set of activities, is it worth it for my constituents, for my stakeholders, for my customers to take on this particular body of work? So everything is essentially a project. And so when you look at things from, does anyone know the triple constraint of a project? So time, cost, and scope, right? And so everyone's always tasked with doing that to say, if I do this work, will it generate this return? And does that have value for the people that I'm supporting? So the cool thing about it is, don't let it intimidate you. Once you're part of the process and part of the machine, it will just be natural. And you'll have team members that will help you understand, well, what does it mean to do this? And what does it mean to do that? So believe it or not, you're probably having project management done to you right now, and you don't even recognize it. But it's everywhere. That's essentially all we do at a for-profit large company, is a bunch of projects. The difference is there's thousands of them.
To add on to that, yes, I think project management is one of the most, well, not the most important, but it is an important skill set to have, because there's always requirements, there's always deadlines, not only for your team and also for the other projects that you're working on with other teams. And there's expectations you have to meet.
Okay, this is your chance to be selfish. You get a chance to ask any question you want. It doesn't have to be related to anything they talked about. You can ask about a career. You can ask about their specific job. You can talk about openings. Who has a question for our panel?
So I was just curious, what kind of technologies you look for in applicants? Do you look for what specific languages do you look for? What kind of frameworks are you guys kind of interested in? Those are where my questions lie.
So we require candidates with full stack knowledge. So who can develop from the front end to the back end, who have knowledge about frameworks, JavaScript frameworks, and cloud technology, especially AWS, GCP, or Azure, and people who really worked in any of the projects, projects to demonstrate their knowledge in all this full stack and data modeling, and how the data. We are expecting candidates who are more knowledgeable of the data flow from the front end to the back end, and each and every layer. Not specifically, like we are looking for React, Vue.js, and React Native, and something like that. Backend, whatever they are comfortable with, like Node.js, or else microservices based in C# or Spring Boot, Java, and then And if you guys have any knowledge on the database administration as well, that is more than welcome. Both, no SQL and relational based.
I know that's kind of geeky now, but what's the tech stack you guys are working with?
I want to answer this differently. That's why I grabbed the mic from Brandon. So I'll say this: we use a lot of the similar technologies. So we're a huge Amazon shop. Love that whole model and platform on Amazon Web Services and pay for what you use and all that. But we use all the OpenStack technologies, Angular Node, Express, all that fun stuff. We use Oracle. We use Microsoft. But the reason why I grabbed the mic from Brandon is, especially as all of you and students in here, I mentioned I got my tech career started in 1996. I was working on a client server application that was Power Builder. Anyone ever heard of Power Builder? No, exactly. This is my point here. Our operating system was Windows NT 351. We worked on SQL Server. I don't even know what version it was. And so really what I look for and what we look for when we're hiring people is that you have that skill of continuous learning and curiosity embedded into you. And I think that comes natural with a lot of people that get into technology. You're always tinkering and looking at different things. But I guess the point to my story here is what exists today is not going to be what you're working on in 5 years or 10 years. So get really comfortable with how you learn and how you're always learning and what you go and look at. When I interview people, I ask them questions. Almost every technology person I know does something on their own. Like, oh, my dad has a business and I was just doing this for him and I maintain this for him and I created a mail merge document so we could, send it out to all his customers and all that. What are the things that you do on your own that you're curious about, that you want to learn more about? Keep that skill with you in your entire career and you'll be just fine, regardless of what technology, languages, frameworks, platforms you're learning today.
For those that have heard me speak, you hear about passion, and that's the kind of stuff. It's not a rubric that gets you the job. It's the stuff you do outside the classroom.
Yeah, just to follow up what he said, I'm big on that too. As you guys see, I'm not the tech person. I couldn't understand anything he just said. But what I look for is individuals like myself. I want you to work hard. If I work hard, I want you to work hard. I want people that think outside the box. I don't want somebody that just follows orders. I like people that tell me. Plenty of times Ray John came to me and told me, we need to do this instead of this. That's fine with me. I'm understanding that I don't know everything. And as any company or owner or whatever position you're in, you're not going to know everything. So I want people to be very open-minded. I think, you're going to go to different jobs along your career. You're going to be in you might be on the front end, you might be to the back end, but as long as you keep that hunger, that's what I'm looking for. I want that person that really loves what they're doing and not just doing it just to get a payday.
Yeah, great point so far. I'm glad we brought up the topic of keeping curious, keeping yourself open-minded on what you learn. That's, one thing I experienced when I did my internship at Hawaiian. They didn't really care what tech stack I was really good at. They cared what I was, very, very interested, curious, front end, back end, API development, just kind of that overall understanding of software development as a whole is, what Hawaiian was looking for. If you're looking for specifics, our front end team uses Angular. Back end team does all their automation in Python, our automation testing. We develop our APIs with an integration platform called MuleSoft or Anypoint Studio. I would assume most of you guys haven't heard of that. I personally didn't hear of that until I got to Hawaiian, but that just goes to show, what GCU is teaching you here is, to take in the information and kind of form your mind around just these high level topics that you can take with you throughout your career.
Answering your question specifically, just because, again, everything that's been set up here is absolutely correct. It's not necessarily what specific tool you're using, but why does it work? That's the biggest caveat. Why does it work? And understanding tools, because again, every single different thing, whether it's a development language, whether it's a security tool, whether it's a database, it doesn't matter. It's going to be gone in 5 years. It will. But if you understand what you're using now and why you're using it, why it works, when the next one comes along, you'll understand whether or not that one will work for you in the environment that you're in. So, but to answer the question more directly, on the front end, Angular is probably the most popular language that I get requests for. Still Java and .NET on the back end. But to the point that was mentioned up here, there are an extended amount of companies that we work with that are continuing to ask for Node.js on the back end, right? And there are several Node developers that we have that we've placed at, different places across the valley and up here. So that's another one that's growing. Again, if you want to say, hey, what's one that's maybe gaining popularity or gaining regularity at larger companies, Node.js and Python actually as well for actual development.
So Bryce, from a cybersecurity perspective, what are the most common things they're asking for when they're hiring cybersecurity people?
Splunk, I would say, is the most common tool I get asked for. Again, what are you specifically using it for? Though obviously is the biggest caveat to that anytime we get an opportunity in that space. But again, the majority of it would be, if it's specifically more towards engineering, it's Splunk or different vulnerability and assessment tools to see, hey, where are our risks? Nessus is another popular one we use a lot, and we get requests for a lot. And then on the flip side of that, any type of risk and compliance or audit, there's always something within that space in security, because again, every single company, every single thing they have that touches a network is a potential issue, right? Whether you're a healthcare company, right? We have security architects that work for a healthcare company here in Phoenix that every device that anyone carries around in the hospital that connects to the network is a vulnerability, right? If there is a monitor that's connected to the Wi-Fi giving patient information to let the nurses know, beep, beep, hey, someone's heart might fail, right? All of that has to be secured. And again, risk and compliance people that do more of the back-end policy writing around that is still super important. And that's something that a lot of companies are realizing they need to do a better job of.
So how many people here are cybersecurity or IT with cyber? You have a pretty good turnout? Oh, I'm expecting more than that. Okay. Usually when I talk to cybersecurity, they want pen testers. That's like the frontline stuff. I mean, yes, are they out there for entry-level people?
Sure. To an extent, maybe, yes. But again, when you think of IT cybersecurity, I know everybody loves the hacker in the hoodie with the, right, that kind of concept or picture that's in your head. That is only a just minuscule sliver of what ultimately goes into it, right? Because again, you talk about GRC, policy writing, understanding, again, what can affect the bottom dollar, right? And pen testing is cool, it's fun. And again, there's a lot of, like vigilanteism almost tied to it, right? Oh, if I can hack it and, give it to a company, they'll pay me to make sure that it doesn't happen again, right? But there's so much more that goes into an entire mature security organization. So yes, that's fun. It's great to know it. If you're good at it and you can do it, you won't really ever go for wanting employment wise, right? But it's only a small piece of the pie throughout an entire, IT security org.
Okay, where's the next question? Who's got a question? Wait. Can I meet you halfway? You want to come over? Oh, whoever's...
Hi. So I work for kind of a company doing a lot of data analytics per se. So like a lot of like Python, and there's a Click scripting language. I don't know if you guys know that. But what kind of like data do you guys really operate with, and how do you see it like being able to be optimized via, machine learning, statistical forecasting, that kind of thing?
So basically, how does data fit into the whole technology field? But keep it short, because I know we could probably go on and on about this. I was going to ask about AI, but we only have an hour, so we're not going to get into that area.
Okay. I'll give you just one example because we use it all over the place. We have 17,000 trucks in our fleet. They transmit all sorts of data. And so we use it for a lot of predictive analysis. When are the tires going to go? When is a certain part going to go? We only make money when that truck is operating and there's a driver in it. So any downtime for the truck means we're not making money. So we take it pretty seriously and we invest a lot in it. So a lot of the vehicle manufacturers today, whether it's an electronic vehicle, which has tons of technology and IoT related stuff on it, but even your more traditional vehicles, the manufacturers have started started to update that with a lot of information, onboard diagnostics. But we take all that data and we feed it to our operations team so that they can do predictive maintenance and predictive failure and just modeling off that data based on what they gather.
So I'm going to say another similar usage to that that I've worked on a project for was within data scientists for an organization. I mentioned mining earlier, right? That did predictive analytics for equipment failures in mines, hundreds, if not thousands of feet below the earth, right? And if they have a piece of equipment that is $50,000 to fix and 3 days worth of uptime to replace in a normal maintenance window versus an emergency break, it's a 2.5 week process to fix. And it's, $3.5 million worth of damages because of that, right? Those predictive analytic models of understanding, okay, hey, it's at 90% usage. Let's go ahead and spend the 3 days and 50 grand to go fix this part, as opposed to, again, losing out an entire section of their operation. So, and again, bottom dollar, right? For an organization. And that's what is going to be the biggest kind of have to save it method for those data analytics.
So Austin, I know MuleSoft is a data integration platform. You want to talk about how that works?
Yeah. So my experience with MuleSoft is API development. So like I said before, we work very close with our movement control team, and I'm not part of the Snowflake side. That's more our data analytics, but they use Snowflake to kind of calculate, how the flight on time performance is going. So we have a once a day flight from Phoenix to Honolulu, and we want to know the best time for that flight to leave and the best time for it to arrive, because that plane might need to get there to take people somewhere else. So we, taking all that data, we're calculating it, seeing the best time. Hey, we want this flight to leave at 11:58 because it'll get to Hawaii at this time. Granted, the weather's fine, but it's all of the aircraft in our fleet. We're taking that data, using it to show our users, when the flight's leaving, where it's going, and just kind of calculating that, making our fleet, more efficient, getting people where they need to go at better times.
Okay, another question.
How do you guys think about ChatGPT, and how do you guys use it, or do you even use it at all?
I want to rein that in just a little bit here. I mean, because we could go on with AI and all kinds of stuff, but I guess the bottom line is, what is your company doing with AI short, not like the grand picture with it? And is it disrupted what your day-to-day job, I guess?
Yeah, I'll give you a use case that'll be applicable to everyone here in the room. But so for AI, Copilot is going to be a game changer. And so I look at it from what we're doing here. So just some of that boilerplate code that you have to do, that's going to help from that. Having a lot of consistency in your code on how we want to do it, that's going to help there. So we're piloting it right now. We're kind of fast followers when it comes to this bleeding edge technology. I forget what the saying is. It's like pioneers get arrows and settlers get land. And so we'd rather be settlers instead of facing the bullets and the arrows. So we're taking kind of a slow approach to it. We are using AI in other parts of our business that I won't go into. But if any of you haven't checked out Copilot yet for your code editor, look into it. It's definitely helpful.
Actually, from a startup perspective, I'd be curious. Are you using, in short, but are you using AI to help you with your planning and your development, and maybe from a development perspective?
Well, right now we are gathering more data for our product. So in future, we are planning to impart like decision-making systems, which will give more informed decisions to our investors, and also prediction algorithms, which will predict the real estate market in future. And we are also planning to do that as a subscription-based for we call them as platinum investors who can put like millions and millions of dollars into the investments. We are planning to have certain kind of sophistication for those developers in future. we are going through all the phases.
And Bryce, are you hearing people? Are they hiring for ChatGPT or AI?
Right now, a lot of that is being, again, pilot in pilot programs. It's not necessarily something that are day-to-day usage for a lot of places, but ultimately, a lot of organizations are right on that fringe of trying to understand, again, what's the cost analysis, what's the time benefit that we can save, and specifically, is it going to produce us more positive outcomes in that amount of time in order to, again, create better streamlines either for their projects or certain businesses. I know in hiring, right, a lot of organizations within their hiring use it for trying to track down and identify candidates, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had, somebody talk to me and say, hey, I applied for a job at, XYZ company and I'm a great fit for it. I got, somebody that used to work there that I know that I'm smarter than him, and I could have had that job in a heartbeat. But HR companies are trying to use various technologies in that space to get smarter at hiring. And again, the way that you write a resume, the way that you carry yourself with your online presence, things like that. There's tools that will go out and search all of that automatically for companies to be able to determine whether or not you're a good asset for them to bring on to their organization. So there are pieces of that being used out there now as well, thanks to some of the emerging tech.
And that's unfortunate, right? I mean, because if we're not talking to a live person who can make a difference. So we're almost out of time, but we have two GCU people who went through the internship process up here. So I don't know if Austin and Brandon, if you can just talk about your internship experience. I mean, yours led to a job and you're trying to get a job, right? Just go ahead and give them an understanding. And then Nhyre, talk about your internship program that you're hiring for. So if we can get you three to just kind of wrap this up, and then we'll have a last closing for everybody.
Yeah, so as Robert said, I did the internship for Hawaiian Airlines. Showed up to the career fair. They were there tabling. And, just told me to apply online. Went online, saw there was 2,000 applicants, something like that. So submitted my resume, and then I heard back later that night that they wanted to do an interview. So at that point, I was already talking to another company. So I still went to the interview because I think interview prep is, something that, you should take very seriously. If you play sports or anything like that, you prepare before the game. So you should prepare before your interviews. So I went to that interview just thinking, it would be some good practice. There's 2,000 other applicants for it. What makes me stand out, I guess. Just kind of connected with the interviewers. Kind of talked about my side projects. They were very interested in that. That's the big thing they were interested in is what I was doing outside of school in my free time to kind of learn more about the industry. And for the actual internship, they brought us in. They treat us just like full-time employees. We actually built a project that I believe is still in production right now at Hawaiian Airlines. I'm on a different team now, but that opportunity really kind of opened my eyes to, keeping my opinions open for where I wanted to work. I thought I wanted to be a front-end developer, only work on the design. Now I'm doing API development. That internship kind of, like I said, opened my eyes to all the different categories of work in software.
So actually, I don't know if this is a true story, but I heard you work with another school's intern, and that student didn't know half the stuff you knew. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, but I also graduated before I did the internship. He was a junior.
Don't say that.
Okay.
GCU rocks, man.
No, it was. I definitely heard from my mentors there that I, kind of had that one step ahead just because I went through the program. The value that GCU is bringing you guys really does pay off. It's 100% worth it. You guys are, going to excel in the workplace, and that, I know the story about that.
Brandon?
All right, so for me, I'd say I kind of hit the lottery. I got a great recommendation, which landed me an interview. But within that interview, they were the main things that they looked out for is if you're passionate about it, if you can learn the tools, and if you can work with a team, and if you can manage yourself. So those are really important skill sets that they look for, not really what kind of tech stacks or languages you work with. Although that is important, but I think it's more important for you to be able to learn pick up and learn new things. And so currently, right now, I'm going into my apprenticeship. I really like it because you get to see what kind of tools they use, what's going on, not only about the software, but as well as the business side of things. And yeah.
Question: How many of you guys in here have done an internship already? Not that many, I see. My biggest advice, and this even outside of my company, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, like I don't feel like it's too early to start. You know, you want to get some experience. You know, you got companies like right here. You know, they're going to ask those same type of things. You know, even me. You know, I'm going to ask you, what some things have you done on your own? You know, what some other companies have you been an intern in? You know, I think all of those components are very, very important. You know, because you want to get a feel for who this person is that's walking into your office. You know, fortunately, you really won't know until you bring them on. You know, but you want to kind of get an understanding of who this person is when you are trying to bring them. So what we're offering, we're actually bringing on 10 to 20 students from either here, Arizona State, to be a part of our startup situation. You know, we don't really have a concept of, you know, front end, back end. We want somebody that can do a lot of things. You know, we want people that can think outside the box. You know, we want people to become part of our family. From that, some of you guys that do well will actually get hired on full time. Now, you know, I know some of you guys might want to step out to other companies, and that's fine. You know, but, you know, we do want to offer that opportunity for those who get the opportunity to be a part of our internship. So, you know, thank you, Mr. Robert, for letting us come out here. You know, I really appreciated my time with you guys. Definitely a good experience. My first time at GCU. I'm actually from the East Coast myself, so this has definitely been an enjoyment for me.
Let's go to just wrap up. Any last minute advice if you're hiring or if you got something open you want to share with the team or the students? Just kind of last words of advice.
Yeah, so last words of advice is I would recommend that you guys research what type of field you want to go into and build projects based around that. And build videos around that, because you could easily share those videos with other people. And if they could see that, well, within the video you could show your project, your passion, and pretty much outline everything you've done. And when an employer sees that, they're going to get a background or feeling of how you act, what kind of person you are, which is really good before the interview.
Yeah, and I'll go back to, I really like what Brandon said. You know, all of you are going through the program right now, but realize the other things that go into making you an attractive candidate and then someone who's going to excel in the technology field. It's not just about what you know. That's kind of the baseline. That's got to be there. But the best developers I've ever worked with are self-managed. They rarely need to be told what to do. They know what to do. They seek out advice. They talk to the right people. They're proactive. So just all these other skills outside of just your technical background and what you're learning, definitely pick those things up, because that's what will separate you from other people.
I thought I kind of just talked, so it's kind of, but I will actually be outside out here. I'll be hanging around. So for any of you guys that are actually interested in being a part of this internship, come up to me. I'm gonna be out here. I'm very sociable. I talk one-on-one. We can step outside, whatever you want to do. Definitely here for you guys. I want to help out you guys as much as I can. And definitely looking forward to meeting a couple of you guys one-on-one.
Yeah, well, if you haven't heard it before, or if you have heard it before, I'll tell you again. Number one advice I can give is, you know, get a good LinkedIn setup. Market yourself online, because that's where people are going to go and find you in the professional space. You're going to go to your LinkedIn, and if you know it's a developer position, they're going to go to your GitHub, see what things you're working on in your free time. Connect with people, reach out to people. You know, there's a couple panelists up here that are offering you guys opportunities, and the industry gets a lot, I don't want to say easier, but it opens a lot more doors as soon as you get that first opportunity that you can put on your resume that you have industry experience. Then it's like you're going to get loads and loads of messages on LinkedIn of, hey, do you want to come work at my company? Do you want to come work at my company? So once you land that first opportunity by getting your LinkedIn all set up, a lot of doors will open.
And Hawaiian Airlines, your internships open up November 1st?
Yes, November, yeah.
Public services, do you have internships coming up, or you have?
So we have an apprenticeships program is what we've done because we didn't want to just limit it to university students. We have found a ton of great talent from the boot camps. And so we changed it from an internship to an apprenticeship. And we have a rolling 10 positions. So the thought is once you graduate from your apprenticeship, we move you into a full-time role. It opens up one of those apprenticeships. So there's not a set schedule or calendar, but we're always looking.
No. LinkedIn, absolutely. If it's not phenomenal with a professional picture and everything outlining what you've done, do that like the minute you walk out of here. Second thing, again, you mentioned get your GitHub. Absolutely. Find a way to showcase what it is that you enjoy working on. And do it as much as you can. Because again, it is hard to break in, but once you do, the opportunities multiply from there for you once you get into your first job. The next biggest thing that again, I always tell people is you can know your technology well, you can be incredibly smart, and you can know something inside and out. But when you're in an interview with someone, they don't always remember what you know, but they remember how you made them feel. And if you can talk to in an interview with people and they can see that excitement that you have about a certain technology or the way that you solve a problem, or one client I had specifically would ask in an interview, Star Trek or Star Wars, and why? And he'd spend 5 minutes just trying to make fun of whatever it was that you said to get you to react in a way that made you stop and think, okay, why do I actually think that this is the best answer? And how do I justify it? It had nothing to do, because obviously Star Trek or Star Wars, they're both pretty cool, right? You can have your own opinion, but does that actually matter day to day in a job? No. It was about how can I problem solve and think through something that I may be passionate about or have an interest in, and be able to identify either a common ground with this person or a rapport that builds long-term success with the person, right? And again, you can be the smartest person in the whole wide world at a certain tool or technology that you love, but how can you apply it and how can you connect with people to show that you have the ability to get it done?
So next month will be for our cybersecurity month. We'll have a cybersecurity focused panel. That'll be, I don't know the exact date, but an announcement's be coming out for that. So watch for that one. That's going to conclude our first Tech Unplugged panel. So thanks to our panelists. Round of applause for them. And some of them, not all of them, will stick around for a little while and answer questions. So here's your chance to get some FaceTime with each one of them. Thank you, everybody, for coming.